Wow, that was pretty amazing. I just got out of my tent and literally saw a wolf right on the other side of the river there. So I'm here today at Fawn Pass Trail, where I'm hiking in with all my gear to do some backcountry camping, and I'm also going to do some landscape photography tonight. Now it looks like I brought enough gear to do a 7-day expedition through the backcountry here, but really a lot of it's just my camera gear, and I have my camera in like a little cube thing, and it fits pretty awkwardly in my pack, so it's in like the top portion there, so that's why it looks like it's so full. And I didn't even bring my 150-600 lens for wildlife because I just want to do landscape photography today. But I know I'll see some pretty cool wildlife though because I didn't bring the lens, and that's how stuff happens. But still, so far it's a pretty spectacular hike. So here in Yellowstone, it's only designated campsites in the backcountry. You can't hike out and camp wherever you want, which is kind of a bummer, but it makes sense for like safety reasons, and so it's not too big of an impact on the environment out here. But I only wanted to hike in about 4 miles to a campsite, but someone else already had that site booked, so I had to compromise for another one, and that one's about 6 miles in. So got quite the hike ahead of me. Maybe I've already done 1.5 miles or so. Yeah, I left at about 1:30. But it is summer, so it's light out until 9, so I have plenty of time to get there and take a bunch of breaks along the way. Yeah, I don't have any GPS or no satellite phone or nothing like that, and then no cell phone service, obviously. So pretty much out here on my own. So I did just find a sign back there, and I am on the right track. The sign was kind of faded and hard to read, but I was able to make it out. And yeah, I'm going the right way. I'm already 2 miles in, so just about 4 miles to go. And I'm feeling good so far, even though I haven't done wild camping like this in about a year, back when I was in Carnarvon Gorge in Queensland. But yeah, so if it sounds like I'm pretty exhausted, it's because I am, because I haven't done this in a while with the big pack on my back. But this hike is relatively flat for the most part. I think the end mile might be a little steep and a little bit of an elevation gain, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Now back behind me is definitely grizzly territory, and I've seen actually a few in that area. And there was a sign that said a bear's been seen about 5 days ago, but now I'm going kind of in a more deep forest, and this is more black bear territory rather than grizzly territory. So going from possibility of seeing one type of bear to another. But as long as you make noise and don't startle them, or there's not one with cubs or it's guarding a carcass, they really won't bother you. But I just gotta remain vigilant and keep my eyes open. So I decided to stop here and take a couple-minute break. I'm about halfway, so I'm about 3 miles in. Yeah, and then actually when I get to my campsite, I have no idea what I'm going to photograph. I kind of did this spontaneously. Like yesterday at work, I'm like, tomorrow I think I want to go backcountry camping, just because it's not supposed to be too hot today or tomorrow. It's supposed to be in the 60s today and then low 70s tomorrow. And recently it's been in like the 80s and 90s, which is just way too hot to do this sort of thing. But yeah, the campsite I picked, it was really close to Mammoth, so that's good. I didn't have to drive far to get to the trailhead. And also it's by the Gardner River. So at least I have the river to be able to photograph, and it's also by Electric Peak and some other mountain peaks. I'm not really sure what the view is going to be. It might just be the river flowing through kind of a valley in woods, so there might not be any compositions. But we'll see, and I'll still be able to get some sort of picture, I'm pretty sure. Then that peak right up there behind me, that's Electric Peak. And actually I was reviewing my map, and it looks like the Gardner River goes directly into the peak. So hopefully I'll be able to get a composition with Electric Peak and the river. But again, it all depends on how down in the valley I am, and also like how many trees and stuff there are blocking the way. And the hike kind of went from open meadows to kind of hilly gully, and now it's kind of opening up more into some more green meadows. Before it was like the sagebrush meadows, and there actually are a good amount of mosquitoes here, so I should have brought bug spray, but I didn't really even think about it. But yeah, I'm just going to keep going, and should get there in another hour, hour and a half. And I've only seen 2 people on this trail, and they were both hiking out as I was hiking in. Otherwise, there's absolutely nobody. And I don't think anyone will be camped at my spot either. It says capacity 10, but now with the pandemic, I think they're only allowing 1 group there at a time. And me by myself will be my only group. So hopefully I get the place to myself. I'm pretty surprised though, I haven't seen any wildlife whatsoever. No bison, no elk, no bears, just a few birds, and that's it. I don't know, it is the middle of the day and it is kind of warm, so maybe everything's kind of sleeping or resting. So I finally got to my campsite. It took me around 5 hours. But at the end it got pretty rough and I had to take a bunch of breaks because I'm pretty worn out and out of shape. But yeah, I got a nice little spot here to pitch the tent. Got the river right there. I did do a little bit of scouting for a photograph, and really there's no spot where you can see Electric Peak with the river flowing up to it and get a clean composition. So on my way in there was a trail that kind of goes up on top of that hill, which I might go up there and see if I can get an image for sunset. But first I'm going to set up camp, and then I'm going to get a coffee going and maybe have some dinner, then go do some photography. So I actually decided to go for a cup of tea instead of a cup of coffee because it is past 7 o'clock and I do want to get some good sleep today. But yeah, I actually did some scouting right here by the campsite by the river, and I think I came up with a composition. So I'm preparing my mountain house right now, gonna drink my tea, and then I'll go take a photograph. And these mozzies here are ridiculous. There's so many of them. I really should have brought bug spray. But yeah, hopefully as it gets cooler they'll go away, but right now I'm getting eaten alive. Hopefully they're not in my tea. I gotta say, it is nice and peaceful. I'll be sleeping with the river flowing next to me and not a single other human in about 6 miles, that's for sure. So I am pretty deep here in the backcountry. Now, mountain houses are some of the best camping food around. They're so easy to make. You just add boiling water and let it sit for about 10 minutes, and they're actually really delicious. I got the lasagna with meat sauce here, which is one of my favorite, and the chicken and dumplings one is real good as well. Now, I have to be careful to keep a clean camp, because I have been seeing a lot of bear tracks around here and bear scat, and I assume that they're black bears because this seems like black bear habitat in all the thick woods, because grizzlies prefer more open meadows. But yeah, I gotta make sure I hang my food up and then not leave anything in my tent, because a visit from a bear at night would not be too fun. Now hopefully it's not too loud with the river, but I completely misjudged the light. I thought we'd still be getting sunlight this time, an hour before sunset, but it's already gone behind the trees, so I've lost all light in my scene, which ruins it a little bit, but not too much. So I'll just kind of wait until blue hour, or until the sun goes down, and hopefully we'll get some nice light in the sky. There have been some clouds coming and going, but right now there aren't any clouds, which is unfortunate. So pretty much all this image has going for it is a decent composition. Yeah, I would have hiked back up there, but I just really didn't feel like it. It's already 8 o'clock. I've got 1 hour till sunset. And again, as I said, there's not many clouds in the sky. They've been coming and going, but now it looks like it cleared up. So I really didn't want to go on another hike up the hill there when I'm already pretty tired. So as you can see with this composition here, I've got kind of these logs and the river in the foreground, and it kind of leads up to this mountain in the background and then these trees. But as you can see, there's no light in my scene, and the mountains are very bright in the background. So I'll definitely have to bracket this image in order to get detail in both. And as I spin the polarizer, watch the front in the absolute foreground there by the river. It kind of darkens it a lot. See, without the polarizer's effect, it's really white, and then as I turn it, it'll get darker. And what I'm trying to do is have it not pitch black like this. I want it to have a little bit of light in it. Because the foreground is going to be lacking any light, that white is going to actually add some light to the image. So I don't want to kill that reflection in the water completely. And it is looking kind of nice how it flows through the scene there. So what I'm starting to do now is I'm starting to take images for the foreground. I'm shooting at 1.3 seconds, f11, ISO 64. That's what's nice about the D850 here. It's got a native ISO of 64, so we can get pretty clean images. And I am actually focus stacking this image as well. It might not be necessary, but just in case, because the foreground subject is kind of close to the lens, so I want to make sure I get detail throughout. And I'm also just watching my histogram to make sure I'm not blowing out any of the shadows. The highlights I'm not worried about because I'm either going to bracket this image or wait until we get some more nice color in the sky to blend in later.
Yeah, so right now I'm just focusing directly on the foreground. And I might even take an image later after sunset, and it might be able to become a balanced image with the foreground being properly exposed and the background being properly exposed. But I am taking these images just in case. And it is a pretty intense high dynamic range on this scene. I tried to take an image for the sky, and it's at 1/13 of a second, f11, ISO 64, and it kills all the detail in the foreground and even the detail on the mountain. The mountain's getting a little bit of light, but not much. But when I exposed for the sky, it killed all that light and all that detail.
Wow, that was pretty amazing. I just got out of my tent and literally saw a wolf right on the other side of the river there. Pretty spectacular. I wasn't able to get a picture. I got like a second of video so you can maybe just see it. But yeah, it was like a black and gray wolf. Pretty spectacular, pretty close, maybe not even 20 yards away. He was just running across there. Well, I didn't do any photography this morning. I woke up and it was pretty dreary and no light whatsoever. So I was kind of cold and pretty tired, so I decided to go back to bed for a little bit. But now I'm awake, I'm gonna get everything packed up, maybe make some breakfast, and then start hiking out. So I didn't decide to stop and take a picture here. That's just because we have these nice trees and we have electric peak in the background, and the trees are framing the peak real nice. The light is pretty diffused because it is very overcast, so we're not getting harsh sunlight. So while it's not dramatic, it is nice and balanced light. So if anything, this is somewhat of an interesting composition, I think. Just shooting at 1/50th of a second, f11, ISO 64. And I am focus stacking this image just because it is kind of dark in the foreground, but I'm noticing I'm not blowing out my shadows so I can bring them up in post, but it's hard for me to tell if it's actually in focus or not. So I'm focus stacking just in case. So definitely not the most dramatic image. I'm not using any filters or anything. I probably could use a graduated filter to kind of block out some of the light from the mountain, but I am able to get it in one exposure without having to bracket, because I can get it without the highlights blowing out or the shadows blowing out, and the graduated filter would really darken the top tree branch in my scene, which would cause it to look a little off to the other branches since I'm framing it. So I finally made it back to the car. That was an amazing hike, but boy am I tired. Just really wanted to go out there and then do some camping in the backcountry, which was pretty nice, and then seeing that wolf this morning was just amazing. So yeah, now it's time to go get a burger, take a nice hot shower, and then probably a nap. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.